What's up, guys? Welcome back to another training. Now, I get asked by a lot of wholesalers, how do I make that transition to become a real estate investor flipping homes, not just wholesaling them? I don't have enough cash saved up so I can buy the home, and I don't have enough cash to rehab the home. So how do I get in this game? Well, my answer is a couple fold, but I do have my number one answer. And here is my number one answer for you wholesalers looking to figure out how to become a rehabber without having a ton of money saved up or a ton of money for the rehab. My number one answer is this. Instead of wholesaling your next property to your buyer, call your buyer and say, hey, Mr. Buyer, I actually have a property I think you're going to like. It's on 123 Main Street. I want to work out a partnership with you. I'm looking to get into the real estate rehabbing, flipping component of business now, and I want to be able to partner with you. So instead of wholesaling this to you for a profit, I'd like to eliminate my profit or minimize it if there's enough money in there, and actually partner with you on the entire process of acquiring the home, rehabbing the home, and selling the home on the market, and create a fair profit split. Now I'm going to make $10,000 on this wholesale. So I want to make sure I guarantee myself the $10,000. And here's what I would like to do with the remaining profit. The way I see this, Mr. Flipper, is you're going to be making $55,000 if you sell it at this ARV. As long as you put in this amount of rehab, you should be able to profit and net after all costs, commissions, etc., $55,000. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is guarantee my 10, which brings you down to $45,000. I also would like to get a share of that profit. Okay, so I'm deferring, right, my wholesale fee to the very end of this. So as long as I can get my 10, ultimately, that is what I want to guarantee. The remainder can just be a percentage of profit for not charging you on the front end. Now, that might be 10%. It might be 20% of total profit. It really depends on how much you are involved in the rehabbing process, in the entire process for that matter, right? And or depending upon how this individual, is fair and how they treat you, this could become kind of a partnership because of this one reason. Rehab flippers do not tend to be big marketers. Wholesalers tend to be big marketers. So what can happen as transactions start to mount up with you in this rehab flipper is it could be you are a marketing component of this flipping machine. And as long as you're able to make a certain percentage of profits, that type of partnership then becomes very valuable to both the flipper as well as yourself. It gets you in the flipping game so you can get bigger profits than just your 10% or your $10,000 wholesale fee. If someone is going to end up making $55,000, but they are de-risked by not having to pay you the $10,000 on the front end, they only have to pay it on the back end. And the de-risk of that gives you another 10% equity of profit share. Then I think that's a pretty fair deal for both sides, right? Now, again, the end flipper, if you were to simply wholesale it to them, would have made $55,000. But because you're going to be reducing your wholesale fee to zero, potentially there's the $65,000 rehab profit margin at the end of that rehab. And then so you will be guaranteed that $10,000, which leaves them the $55,000 that he expected to make. But because you were being so gracious and removing that $10,000 on the front end so he could acquire it and take less risk because he's buying it lower, then you want 10 or 20% of that profit margin, along with probably some help along the way to help that rehab go. Now, will all rehab flippers do this? Maybe not all of them. Some of the more substantial rehab flippers, maybe some, veterans who've been around a long time, they may not necessarily be game for this, but someone who's only been flipping for a year or two is doing several deals, but they're not doing volume. They could be very open to something like this because again, you aren't charging them your wholesale fee on the front end, which de-risks their purchase because it's at a lower purchase price, right? It's direct to the homeowner's price effectively. So it opens them up to have a less risky, I don't really love saying it that way, but for some reason that's how it's being said, a less risky purchase, right? And it allows them to actually have a deeper discount when they buy, which gives them more room to be able to make a bigger profit. If you can negotiate that with them, that is your number one way to get into the flipping game and make larger profits than just your, let's say, $10,000 wholesale fee. Now, there's other ways to absolutely do this, right? One of my other favorite ways is simply to be able to find someone who is a lender who wants to act as a bank or a lender in this scenario. And instead of giving them interest, you give them percentage of profit, right? And so that is a way to do that. They are still a lender, but instead of an interest rate, you are giving them a percentage of profit. This is all written out in the documents as well as notarized and recorded. Okay. So that would be my second favorite way. Now, the other part of that is you can also become a rehab manager where, because you're going to give them profits and the return they're going to get versus just an interest rate is substantial, you might also take a fee to manage the rehab. So again, you're finding a lender who wants to be a lender on a property, but instead of an interest rate that you are going to pay them, you are going to pay them by equity, by profit equity, right? So if you make 50 grand, you will do a profit share split. And then you could also potentially say, hey, to manage this rehab, I want to make sure I make a minimum of $5,000 on management of this rehab. That would be my second choice. And that is probably the two fastest and easiest ways for you, the wholesaler, to get into the rehabbing game and flipping game, which a lot of times can create bigger spreads, but there are some hurdles there because you do have this time thing going on, right? A wholesale deal can be done in 7 days, 14 days, or under 30. A rehab deal, you might be stretching out to 60, 90, 120, 150, 180 days before you collect that check. So first of all, make sure that you really want to be in a game that long, be in a deal that long to collect that check. Is that really worth it? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Hopefully this training really was good for you. Subscribe to my YouTube to make sure you see all the new info. And if you're a real estate investor and you're liking this, go to the Science of Flipping Facebook Academy group and add yourself there. That way I can continue to give you guys great content each and every week. Peace.